Ford had always believed that racing improved the breed. In '64 and '65, they were improving their cars every week. Ford slugged it out with Dodge and Plymouth every week from Darlington to Martinsville, banging fenders, thrilling millions, and selling lots of full-size Galaxies. Ford also wanted dominance at the drag strip. Their '64 Fairlane Thunderbolt was a hand-built car that weighed just about 2,800 pounds. Powered by the big 427, the Thunderbolt had the acceleration curve of a rocket sled.
Portsleel grabs the win with an elapsed time of 11.76.
The culmination of Ford's American racing efforts was its win at the Indianapolis 500 in 1964 with their 289 V8 powering Jimmy Clark's Lotus. After conquering practically every kind of racing in America, Ford set its sights on the big prize, international sports car racing. The goal, to win the 24 Hours of Le Mans. So Ford had designed a special car called the Ford GT, and they called upon a California road racer to help them build it.
My name's Carroll Shelby, and performance is my business.
Carroll Shelby is just the American icon of racing. He is it. He's our Enzo Ferrari. I mean, that's Carroll Shelby. And Carroll Shelby started out as a racer. Consequently, his relationship with Ford grew, and that's when they started bringing the little cars in from England and stuffing 260 engines in them, the Cobras. Then they put 289s going to 427s. It was a relationship with Ford engines. Then they started to do the Mustangs.
Carroll Shelby's history is just, speaks on its own. I mean, he started in the 50s, late 50s racing. The biggest one was Le Mans. Ford went over to Italy to buy Ferrari. They actually wanted to buy them. And Ferrari turned around and said, well, we want to keep the racing side of it. Ford got mad, came back to America, and said, we're just going to beat them. Just whatever it costs, let's build a car and win Le Mans. Let's show Ferrari what we can do.
But the Corvette was still a thorn in Ford's side. Sure, Ford had won Le Mans and Indianapolis with special one-off race cars. But the Corvette was a real sports car that you could buy at your local Chevy dealer. So where was Ford's over-the-counter sports car? Right here, lurking beneath the skin of the sporty little Mustang. So once again, Ford turned to Carroll Shelby to make this little runabout into an all-American race car. All it needed was a little modification to its performance and its image. So the first thing they did was give it a racy name and called it GT350. Most of Shelby's modifications were done to the engine and suspension. The high-winding 289 with its bore of 4 inches and stroke of 2.87 inches already cranked out 271 horsepower. But when Shelby added a bigger 715 CFM Holley carburetor on an aluminum intake manifold and tubular exhaust headers, this boosted its output to 306 horsepower. All Shelby Mustangs were made from the fastback 2+2 body. Just 562 Shelbys were built in 1965, enough to let it race against the Corvette in the popular racing series sponsored by the Sports Car Club of America. By 1966, the Shelby GT350 had made a name for itself. It had already reclaimed some road racing success from Corvette, and it was now the show horse in Ford's stable. The Shelby GT350 was one of the most racy-looking cars in America. It had a fiberglass hood with a functional scoop and rear brake cooling scoops. The Mustang's roof vents were replaced by clear plexiglass, a distinctive Shelby touch. The Shelby Mustangs all sported side stripes with GT350 lettering. These stripes were immediately copied by Ford on many of its other performance models. The driver's compartment of the '66 Shelby was very civilized. There were vinyl bucket seats, and their seat belts were genuine competition-type units. Shelby's also sported a 5-gauge instrument panel, a wood-trimmed steering wheel, and a tachometer in a dash-mounted pod. Softer springs and shocks and a conventional exhaust system served notice that the GT350 Mustang was no longer an all-out turnkey racing package. However, all the go-fast goodies were still available from Ford's parts department if you wanted to make your own SCCA production racer. The Shelby Mustang was so famous by now that Hertz commissioned Ford to make a version just for them, with a special black and gold paint scheme. This Hertz GT350 was distinguished by Hertz center caps and the rally wheels, and the letters GT350H on its sides. Hertz customers were delighted to discover that for $17 a day and 17 cents a mile, they could pretend to be A.J. Foyt until the rental period expired.
The Hertz cars, they made 1,000 of them. Only 85 of them were 4-speed, and the rest of them, 915, were automatics. Everyone tells all their famous tales about renting a car from Hertz and how much fun they had. They had so much fun that Hertz abandoned the program in 1 year.
When the Mustang's body style changed in 1967, Carroll Shelby's little GT changed along with it, and it also sported a new engine. Back in a minute as the Mustang becomes a genuine muscle car.